Hello, this is Jeff Altgilbers. It's November 24th, and I want to welcome all of you to our Monday mentoring call. This is an exciting time in our history of For Life research because we see our company growing, just internationally. Just the reports we hear. 2 new golds out of Korea. That was exciting to hear that. I remember first visiting that country years ago, and boy, was that an eye-opener for me. That was my first international experience. The purpose of this call is basically to give you direction, a sense of direction in your business. And I speak to people, all over the world, and they reach out to me because they feel like they're lost and they're looking for, a different, advice about how to approach this business. And as you remember last week, I talked about this, that if I had to do this business the way I did it 16 years ago, I would fail. I would never even make it to diamond. Because again, the principles never change. The tools do. And what I did 16 years ago worked. Matter of fact, if I tried to, 16 years ago, do what I do today and do it that way back then, I would fail back then. Because the tools I'm using and what I'm using didn't exist 16 years ago. It didn't exist. So we understand as leaders of this industry, if we are going to be successful professionals in the network marketing industry, truly a 21st century professional, you're going to have to be willing to have an open mind and have to be willing to change. I say that because I had to be. See, it didn't matter to me, I just wanted to be successful. The tools we use, I'm like, hey, whatever it is, let's do it. Because I'm a student. I'm still a student. This is the only thing I think we never graduate from. But we're always learning. So the thing about it is we have to keep an open mind. I was on the phone with a couple other, I was speaking to George even a little bit ago, and about things that I want to change. I'm looking at some of the things we have in the back office. I said, yeah, this was good a year ago. This is not good now. Like the trifold brochure. The one thing I want to do is create a template where you leaders can go in, put in your information, and then create your own QR code. Your own QR code. What does that do? That means when somebody takes their cell phone, they have this, I forget what you call it, but it's a QR code scanner. They just scan your code. They go right to your website, and they're going right into the video presentation. So that when you're out and about, Starbucks, the mall, wherever, on the beach, you can just pull this out of your purse, or you guys out of your back pocket, and just hand it to somebody. And they can take their cell phone in the convenience of their own time, scan that code, and immediately go into your presentation. So I want to customize those that trifold brochure. That's one of the things. I also want to look for a more simple tutorial that explains how to set up your website. We want to get it down to as few words as needed, and so that's some of the things that's been on my mind lately. We always appreciate any advice coming from the field because we're always open to change, and we always appreciate your suggestions. I want to get into now something that is part of the mechanics, the process of what we do when we build an organization. And, certainly it starts with the prospect list. The prospect list never changes. We continue to add to it. And people that say no to us today are going to say yes to us 6 months from now. That's why I never trash anybody. When they say no, I just look at those 2 letters in reverse, and that just, to me, it's on. It's always on. So, but when we talk about the process of developing people, it really begins with the invitation. And in the ebook that's in the back office. And if you're not a member yet, then just message me, and I've had several people do that here in the last week, that asked me to enroll them, people in Argentina and all over the world. But in your back office, there's an e-book, and that explains the 10 steps of duplication. How we do network marketing today, not how we did it 10 years ago. So, what is the invitation? It's a certain protocol that we must observe when we invite people to look at our opportunity. Keep in mind, this is an invitation, not a presentation. Once you start explaining the presentation, you stand a good chance of losing your prospect. Keep in mind, most people don't want to explain anything. They really don't. Everything is sort of prepared for us, isn't it? People go to the stores, they buy food, it's already prepared, they come home, just warm it up, eat it. There's a lot going on in people's brains, so they're inundated. They got a lot of things on their mind. The last thing they want to do is learn how to go to a whiteboard and start explaining the plan, how you become successful, what do you got to do, what is the process of sponsoring. So, when we talk about the invitation, again, I want to stress it's not a presentation. So we invite people to look at our opportunity. That is so much better than telling people that you must learn how to present. Most people don't want to because they're intimidated, or they think they're not a salesperson. They think that they don't have a personality for this business. Oh, they've never done anything about this before, so they're intimidated. They're very insecure. The thing that we have to remember is that this is why this system was created, so you don't have to explain too much. It does the work for you. And, an experienced leader like your sponsor, your upline, will also help and work with you in this process as well. But it's not complicated. Even if you have a sponsor that is nowhere in sight, you're one of these people that have been recruited and dumped, let me tell you something. The system will take care of you. You get educated. You read the book. You get around the learning curve. It's not going to take 2 years to make you a leader. You can be there in 2 months. Once you develop the psyche and you start applying this book. Let's talk about that, though. How to invite. How to invite means to ask someone's permission to view an opportunity presentation. And it can be, done in a coffee shop. It can be done, in a hotel or in a public meeting or a home. But for most people, this day and age, it's going to be an online presentation. And it's going to be more practical for them. You have to judge the circumstances for each prospect. So when you make that list, you know who's on it. And if you're a person that's been in this business and you say, well, Jeff, I've already gone through my prospect list. Then people that you're going to meet from this day forward, you'll have to judge those circumstances, how it is best to present. But again, it's going to be mostly online. That's what I've experienced. You can always talk about this with your upline. But keep in mind, if they're out of state, far from where you live, or it's not, time practical for you to meet, an online presentation is the way it's going to be done. It has to be done. If you think not, then invite them to your meeting and watch what happens. You're going to keep looking at the door and looking at your watch. So that's why this system is so important. Because keep in mind, this does not, some people have the wrong impression of what this system is about and what technology is about, for that matter. This is not meant to be anti-relational. It's up to you to develop a relationship with somebody. This is simply a tool. That's all it is. But this process of prospecting people and developing them into people that join you cannot be based on a meeting model. It cannot be based on them showing up Monday night, 7 o'clock at the Holiday Inn hotel. If it's based on that, you're in trouble. You're in deep trouble. Because you're going to look at your watch and look at your door and wondering why they never come. So, that being the case, we see why this is so important today, to be able to use this, and that's all this is. All we want to do is get a presentation to them and then make a decision. That's all. That's all we want to do. Now, as far as getting together, you could do that anytime if it's possible, if it's practical. If they're in Mumbai, India, probably going to have to get on a plane. Or you'll see them at the For Life Convention in April. But events are very important. They're important for edification, motivation, recognition. That's what events are for, and I love them. We do them. But when it comes to this process of prospecting people, bringing them in as leaders, it can never be based on a meeting model. If you do that, you will fail. You will fail. Monday night, if your meeting's on Monday night at 7 o'clock and they don't show up on Monday night, what do? Well, I've heard this many times. People say, well, maybe they'll come next Monday. Well, you're out of business for a week? You can't be out of business for a week. Next 6 days, you don't have anything going on. No. That's why this system is so important, my friend. So when you get together with them, when we talk about the invitation, and I want to, again, find the yin and yang, the balance in this call. Because you could be in the Philippines, you could be in India, you could be somewhere in South America where people are not that online yet. You know, there's a lot of population still not online, but it's changing fast. What's very important for you to have an iPad, or if you can't afford that, a flip book, where you can print our materials. You can use that in your flip book, or PowerPoint, for example, and you can sit down even in a coffee shop or wherever you are. If it's in a home, that's fine, and you can explain this opportunity. You'll find that people that are dependent on meetings, and that's fine. Again, I'm not putting meetings down. When I say that it's very difficult to get people to a meeting, I'm talking about in countries that are very progressive, people that don't have a lot of time. It's going to be very difficult to do that. In countries where people got more time and they can get together, you're going to find that meeting models are going to be important. But for tonight, I want to talk about the online presentation. And I want to mention now, too, about the protocol. When we invite people, it's very important that we keep it natural when we're talking to a warm market person. I'm talking about somebody that knows you. It just depends on it. Doesn't matter how well they know you, but they know you. It's important for us to just keep it natural when we talk to them, and then invite them the same way you would as if you invited them to a ball game, to a movie, to a party at your house. Keep in mind, friends like to be treated special. So when you call them on the phone, or if you see them in public, make the invitation special. That's the one thing I never did like years ago. I'm talking about years ago. I can remember when I was inviting people to a meeting, when our business of prospecting and sponsoring was dependent on a meeting model. We went to the meeting, and they'd see everybody gathered there. They felt like they were being herded like cows. Herded like cows. People like to be treated special. And that's what I love about this, that when I call a friend and ask them to, or invite them to look at this presentation, then I'm really giving them special treatment. It's nice. But here's an example. What do you do when you call them? What do you say? I'd usually like to keep it just, I don't know. I'm not a formal person. I just usually like to say, hey, John, how are you doing, buddy? John, I just found something that has incredible potential and opportunity. I know it's something we both can do together and have a lot of fun and make a lot of money. Have you got a few minutes and I can email you the link, or you can say I can message you the link. Look at it. It's only a 10-minute presentation. I'll call you back in 30 minutes. Can you do that? Just close the door, your undivided attention, look at it. If they say to you, what is it? Then my response to that is, John, you know what? I wouldn't do it justice if I tried to explain it. This is a professional presentation. It's only 10 minutes long. So take a look at it, and I'll call you in 30. How's that? Great. Okay, talk to you then, John. Just that simple. Keep it just like that. Keep it light. Keep it hearty. And then when you call them back, what you don't want to do is explain the presentation. Now, if they say to you, what is it? Then they didn't look at your presentation. And if they say, what is it? And they want you to explain it, don't explain it. The minute you do that, you're asking them to do something they don't want to do. Believe me, they don't want to do that. Because if you're going to explain the presentation, then they've got to explain the presentation. So then I'll just laugh and say, John, you know what? Something must have happened when you were looking at that presentation. What happened? You weren't too focused on it. Why don't you go back, look at it again? I'll call you back in 30 minutes. They might say, well, yeah, the kids came in and they wanted me to fix something that got broke. My 6-year-old was crying, blah, 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 blah. Okay. The main thing is we want them to look at it. They know what it is. And then when I call them back, and I'll say, what do you think, John? John, this is something we both can do together, have a lot of fun, make a lot of money. I want to run with you. We can partner up. We can do this, John. And I'm right at the 4Life website. You ready for me to enroll you? And that's it. Now, does it work? Absolutely it works. If there's anything that worked for me 16 years ago that works today, it's that. Keeping it simple. Don't create the steps. What do I mean by the steps? That's the process of prospecting people and bring them in the business. Don't create those steps. Don't make it so hard. Don't make it so difficult. They got to go to a meeting. Oh, you got to wear a tie and a suit. Why? That's the very thing they don't want to do. Matter of fact, if they get in this business, it's because they don't want that lifestyle anymore. They want to be able to just enjoy life and not wear a uniform. Okay, so that's what we usually do, or that's what I do, when I call and I invite somebody. Now, if you're going to meet them, and sometimes the protocol will call for that. For example, if I'm going to meet with somebody who has experience in this industry, they have influence, they have a history of success. I don't just, send them a link. I might meet with that person. You have to judge it that way. You can talk to your sponsor. Message me if you need to. There's times that I even get on a plane and I fly to Salt Lake City just to meet with that person, just to walk and show them 4Life. Now, it would take a special person, and recently I was out there, and that was the case. And it happens from time to time that I do get on a plane, and I do that. And then I'm supporting my leaders, of course. But sometimes it does call for that. If you're in India, if you're in the Philippines, again, you may have to meet face-to-face with your prospects, and that would be the appropriate thing to do and the most effective thing to do if you're going to bring them in. And in that case, you'd want to have products on hand, an application on hand with you when you go so that they can see it. Now, if it's an acquaintance, let's say someone that you barely know, and you can't use the warm market approach that you do with your friends, then keep in mind that you can still be very effective. I'll give you, and I'm going to quote this out of my book, and this is what I wrote, how you would talk to someone who's just an acquaintance. Hello, Victoria. I met you some time back and enjoyed it very much. The reason why I'm calling you is I wanted to ask you if you're open to having additional income coming to you that takes little time to establish. What is it? I'm glad you asked. But for you to see it professionally, can I email you the link and you can see it online? Great. Are you where you can see it now? Great. Can I call you back in 30 minutes and see how you feel about the presentation? I value your time. Great. Talk to you then. Friends, the 30-minute follow-up is real critical because when you prospect somebody, the information needs to be fresh in their mind, because at that very moment they have a lot of feelings about the presentation they just saw. Maybe they're thinking, man, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Time freedom, money, lifestyle, whatever, you know. They might see the Great Escape trips and think, good grief, I'd love to be on one of those. I love to travel. You know, one reason why 4Life has the Great Escape trips is not so much as a reward, even though it is. They want to teach us how we need to live our life. I want to have a great escape every day, don't you? I do. And I've experienced that. Many of my leaders are experiencing that. When people ask me, and this is just a common question, how are you doing? I always smile and say, every day is Saturday. Every day is Saturday. So people have a lot of different feelings and thoughts why this would attract them. When you call them back, let them open up and share that with you and be a good listener. It's all part of the process, of bringing these people in. Now, if it's a total stranger, then somebody that you met, then what could you do? What could you say? And this could be you met them on the internet too. Here, you could say it like this: "Hello, my name is Jeff. May I ask your name, please? Nice to meet you, Randy. You know, you have the look of a businessman, or if it's a woman, you could say a businesswoman. You know, I just came here for a reason. I'm opening a business in this area, and I'm looking for a key person to do it with. Do you keep your mind open for other business opportunities?" That's nice to know that. Now, I say this, friends, because I can tell you, and I mentioned this, some time back, that I remember there was a leader in Spain who went to Portugal, and he went there with the intention of finding somebody, though he knew nobody. And he spotted a good-looking man in a suit at the mall where he was having coffee. He approached him, and he used this kind of approach. He just told him, said, you know, I'm involved in a business in this area, and I'm looking for a key person to work with. You have the look of a businessman or a professional. You know, do you keep your mind open for other business opportunities? Well, guess what? He came in. He did come in, and he's doing very well today. I don't know how many international diamonds are in that line, but just having that approach, showing respect, showing personal interest works. It works. And again, by giving them, even when you meet somebody, your web address, your URL to your website, and inviting them to, and make sure when you do that, get their phone number, if they have a business card, get it, or ask them for it, their email address, their phone number. Then you'll be able to follow it up. Now, again, I want to emphasize this, that this is an invitation. It's not a presentation. We don't want to explain the presentation. What we want people to do is always direct them to that video. It's 10 minutes long. Why is it 10 minutes long? Because that's it, folks. I'm going to tell you, after 10, 15 minutes, they're not listening to it anymore. their minds have wandered. I've been to meetings and seen people, I used to do them. I used to do this. We'd get up and present for an hour. I mean, it was a show. I mean, for an hour, explain the products, explain the company, explain the compensation plan. Nobody cares about the compensation plan, okay? If you look at my compensation plan video, you'll see that I keep it very simple. I don't even get into it, the 2, 25, 5, 6, or 12, depending whether you're diamond or presidential, and the infinity bonuses and the pass-through infinity bonus, the 6 generational payout, and what a generation really means. Where does it begin? Where does it end? It blows them out. They don't even want to hear it. They'll run from that kind of a language. I don't use it. When they're interested in the compensation plan? When they want to understand the mechanics of it? When they're making money. And usually it's not until they're presidential, at least. Until that time, they don't care. And I tell you, some of the biggest top earners I've ever met in this industry, and I'm going back 30 years, people that I've known, friends of mine, some of them were absolute idiots. I mean, in terms of these women not understanding the compensation plan. They made fortunes. I remember one young girl, this was over, 20 years ago. I remember I met her, and I was looking at this company, and I asked her, I said, well, what is your compensation plan like? And she looked at me, and she said, I don't understand anything about those percents. I walked away thinking, she will never make it in network marketing. She doesn't understand anything about those percents. Well, let me tell you, that girl, not long after that, was knocking out $20,000 a month. $20,000 a month. She did very well in network marketing. She's doing very well now. So the thing about it is, we keep it simple. And when I talk about the compensation plan, if you look at my video that's on the IMT homepage, it's also on my website, go to platinum.com under opportunity. You'll see that I talk about it, I explain it as 2 bottles. If I purchase 2 bottles and commit to it, and I sponsor 6 who commit to it, go 4 levels deep, you're $18,000, $19,000 a month. So keep it simple. Keep our presentation simple. And keep in mind, it's an invitation, not a presentation. Get good at inviting people. Set goals this week to invite people. Set goals every day to invite people. I love this business. And I also love, I hear from women around the world, and keep in mind, the majority of workforce in network marketing are women. Women have families, they have children, many of them do. They have responsibilities. We can't take them away from those. Otherwise, they're going to quit your business. That's why this system is also perfect for them. It's also perfect for them. I talked about Generation Y last week, the millennium generation. But when we think about women today, they can take care of their family responsibilities, feed their kids, their husband, park them in front of a TV, say, you know what, for 1 hour tonight I'm going down the hallway, I'm going to close the door, and what I'm going to do is start inviting. I'm going to start inviting. And that's what we have to do, friends. We have to start making those contacts, sending out the link, and then follow up. And I'll talk more about that next week. And now I had a question. Let me see. Oh, no, that wasn't a question. I guess nobody has any questions tonight. I want to say that you can message me on Facebook right now. If you have a question, I'll be glad to try to answer. Maybe I do have some questions. Let me see. No questions there. I don't see any questions. Very good. Okay, well, I must... Okay, very good. Keep that in mind for the next call next week. If you have some questions, next week, I'll be glad to go over those questions with you. Write them down, and you can email me those questions, message me those questions. It's better to do it, prior to the call on Monday. That way I have it right in front of me, and then I can go over that question with you. And I sort of like spontaneity, hitting me something, and then you get my knee-jerk reaction, how I would answer that question. Well, I want to thank everyone for being on the call tonight. It's been 30 minutes now. Set your goals this week on inviting. Get good at inviting. And again, remember, don't explain the presentation. Just get them to look at it, focus on it, and then when you call them back, have your laptop open and be ready to talk to them about how they're going to come in this business as a leader or as a diamond. I want to wish all of you all the success this week. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the recording, and then we can say good night, goodbye, or anything you want to say, or we can listen to screaming kids. Hang on.